Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith. This is my kitchen. If you're new to my channel, you found me on here. Awesome. Glad you stopped by. Hope you stick around. Um, and I appreciate that. Take nothing for granted. I hope you get something out of this and check out some of my other videos and get something out of those also. If you're returning to my channel, I'm glad you came back. That's just awesome. Beyond reproach. If you are new to my channel, really quick synopsis is on Tuesdays we talk about things. Wednesdays we cook dinner. Thursdays we bake something, or sometimes I put out 2 videos and we can something. We do all kinds of stuff on here. Hey, Thursdays are probably my favorite because we get to bake something. Although cooking is fun also, and I love to chit chat on Tuesdays. Tuesdays we talk about current events, things that are going on, good, bad, or otherwise. That was my oven. But this morning we're going to make dessert for breakfast, basically. And it's a wonderful little nook. We tried it a few weeks back. It's called apple pie biscuits, and they're incredibly easy to make. They're good for breakfast if you like sweets for breakfast. It's not healthy, not by any means. This would also be good served with ice cream for a dessert. No different than a cake. And it's got very much an apple pie feel to it. So, I think that kind of fits into our fall theme. I know last week we did the pumpkin roll, and I think next week we're going to do pumpkin cookies. But this time I thought we'd do something with apple. I've already done an apple pie. But on top of that, we're going to walk quickly through the steps of canning salsa. I've already got the salsa made, so I can just give you the ingredients list and tell you what the steps are after that. That portion of this video probably won't be 5-10 minutes at most. This whole video is going to be relatively quick compared to some of my others, because this apple pie biscuit does not take long at all to make. Alright, so let's go over some ingredients real quick. Let me get you down at eye level, so to speak, with the countertop, so we can just kind of go over some things. Alright, there we are. I do have to grab something real quick. I will need a brush. First thing you will need, this is that simple. It's a preferred non-stick pan. I'm using cast iron. A package of biscuits, frozen or in a can. I suppose you could make your own, but it would take a lot of time. This is something that's quick. If you're using frozen, let them fall. All right. The next thing you're going to need, a brush, a stick, one stick, 115 grams of butter melted, and then some cinnamon sugar with a little bit of nutmeg in it. In this case, this is brown sugar. It's a 1/4 cup with 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and about a teaspoon or so of nutmeg. The nutmeg is completely optional. You could put a little pumpkin spice in it. The last ingredient you'll need, now, much like most things, we can our own, but it would be a can of apple pie filling. This is our apple pie filling that we make on our own. This is really kind of like the easiest thing ever. So the first thing we're going to do is find out where to open up our biscuits at, right here. This is like one of my favorite parts because you get to bang this on the counter and let it pop. Pop. Damn. Wow, that actually popped kind of wild looking. We'll get our biscuits out. Make sure your counter is clean before you do anything else. Good practice to get into if you're new to baking or cooking is you want to clean your counter. Wipe it down with some hot soapy water prior to use. Yeah, get a pair of scissors. That's a first. Never actually had a can not open on its side and explode and have the top come off. Alright, so here, that's how it's supposed to look, just like that. We'll go ahead and set this down real quick. And all we're going to do is, first thing we're going to do is butter our pan. You want to butter your pan. It serves two purposes. A, it helps to keep things from sticking. Alright, now, while you're getting out your ingredients list, set your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, get it warming up. Because we're going to bake these at 350 degrees, and we're going to do it for 45 minutes. As I've said on several other videos, nobody's oven's the same. Alright, so we got our pan buttered, our oven's turned on to 350 degrees. We're going to take our biscuits, we're going to dip them in the butter. Then we're going to dip them in the cinnamon sugar, get them good and coated. And place them in the pan. Like I said, this is not the healthiest meal in the world. So while I'm doing this, got some kind of exciting news. We will be moving, so there might be a week or so that you don't get to see my smiling face. I know, don't be sad. But as you guys may know, or you may not know if you're new, we currently live in a half double. And although we are wanting to buy a house, we still have quite some time left on our lease. Well, our landlord called us and said, hey, I've got this lovely Cape Cod that's just come available. Would you like to take a look at it? We have an absolutely wonderful landlord, which I know not many people would say that, but we probably have one of the last not company-owned, company-run landlords or rentals. And we were like, of course we would. So we looked at it, and it's a really nice Cape Cod with it has a garage, it has a nice backyard, and it's just a nice house. So we decided we're going to move into that house. So like I said, if you don't see me for a few days, that would be why. Alright, we're almost done there. We got one biscuit left to do. So you guys are going to get to see this made in real time, which is kind of cool, really. Yeah, we get moved. My setup will be a little different, but then we'll get to do more things together. I mean, there's some things like at this particular rental, I've got my shed out back, but it doesn't really. Okay, so we got all our, but it's not a one-car garage. That's what I was trying to get at. We got all our biscuits coated, and we're just going to take the rest of our cinnamon sugar here and just put it in there. I got this one biscuit, it's a little light on the cinnamon and sugar. But you would, if you have any leftover cinnamon sugar, which by the way, the cinnamon sugar, due to your taste, if you like more cinnamon than sugar, if you like more, make your own. Or if you have I know they make a store-bought cinnamon sugar mix, that always works too. So we got our biscuits are buttered. Biscuits are buttered. And the cinnamon sugar is on there. The next thing we're going to do is just pour the rest of that butter over top of it. We want all that buttery goodness. Like I said, this is not by any means a healthy breakfast. So if you're somebody who likes to eat healthy, this probably isn't for you. But it will also make a great evening dessert with some vanilla ice cream. Alright, so then you'll want to get your can of pie filling. Alright, or if you have your own pie filling. And if you are using canned pie filling, the chunks are kind of big. They've got big chunks in them. So you might want to consider cutting those up. I mean, you don't have to. The choice is yours. But I think bite-sized and more uniform would be the way to go. And we're just going to take our pie filling and we'll scoop it on here as such. And then set the mason jar to the side. And you want to spread it out, get it in there in the nooks and crannies. I'm telling you, as a dessert, or even as a breakfast, because when I made this, I made it as a breakfast. But that was when it was determined that this would be an amazing fall dessert. You know, you get done eating dinner, and obviously it doesn't take very long to make. Other than the cinnamon sugar, you're pretty much done. Okay, so there is that. And that is what we're looking like before we go in the oven. So let's talk about the oven real quick. Alright, so like I said a minute ago, we're going to cook this, or bake this at 350 degrees for about 40-45 minutes. What you're looking for is the biscuits to get done. Because everything else is pre-cooked. Pie filling, your cinnamon sugar is, you can eat it cold or hot. Butter was already melted. So we're just looking to get the biscuits done. But it's going to take about 40-45 minutes. I know in my oven the last time it took 40 minutes. 350 degrees. So when I come back, we're going to put a icing. We're going to ladle some icing on there. Drizzle. Sorry, not ladle. Drizzle. Drizzle some icing on there, and then give it a taste, and then we'll move on to making some salsa. Because there's nothing better than having a full belly when you make salsa. All right, I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, guys. So we got our pulling our apple pie biscuits out of the oven right now. Here's how we look. So we got one final step. While those are cooling down a bit, because they are blazing hot. You don't want to stick your finger in that. That pie filling will jump up and bite you. So we're going to make a little icing to put on this. Let me grab a fork here. I don't have exact measurements on this one. If I had to guess, I'm going to say about a half a cup of powdered sugar. I know this is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, but you could also use milk in this, I'm sure. I'm going to start out with about a tablespoon or so. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an icing that we can drizzle on. And all we're going to do is mix this together, okay? Do a little more. Go ahead and put the full 2 tablespoons of heavy cream in there. Now I got my heavy cream at room temperature. I pulled it out and let it sit while these were baking, and they did take 40 minutes. Yeah, see, there we go. Let me get this mixed up real quick, and then I'll get a spoon so that way I can show you about drizzle consistency. But really with this, you want to make it as thick or as thin as you want. And this is just a basic icing. You know, like I said, we just made it a little thin so that way we could drizzle it on. There we go. Well, here I can almost show you with my fork. Yeah, you want something you can drizzle. See how it's, you know, I mean, it's thick, but it's not like get you thick. So what we want to do while this is still warm is we're just going to take this and drizzle it over it. You know, or just put it over top of it, either way. So I'm going to say a half a cup of powdered sugar, teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of heavy cream or milk. should do the trick. Just make sure they're at room temperature. All right, I'm gonna let this sit for a minute so it doesn't burn my face while we're trying to eat it or get it out of the pan. And when I come back, we'll give it a try, and then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do next, as far as, because we're gonna put some salsa together. Well, I've already got it together, but we're gonna talk about the salsa and can it up. All right, I'll see you here in just 1 minute. Okay, we let this cool for a minute, so that way it doesn't burn our face when we try to eat some. It's still got some steaminess to it. That's all right. That's what we like. There. Oh, part of my flaky crust or flaky biscuit. Decided it wouldn't stay. But oddly enough, the butter, even though I'm using cast iron, the butter stuck to the bottom. Did not, the butter that we put underneath did let the pie filling not stick to the bottom of the pan, which is nice. And there's where we are with that. And this is like the most unhealthy but beautiful breakfast known to man. But we're going to give it a taste so I can reiterate how really, really good this stuff is. Let me get a fork. We'll give her a shot here. Yeah. So, what it comes down to is that is horribly delicious. It's almost sinful. If you like apple pie, that is the way to go. Hands down. It takes like 3 minutes to put together, 40 minutes in the oven, and boom, you've got a really nice dessert or a really nice breakfast. Like I said, not healthy, but that's okay. Sometimes you need unhealthy. It kind of keeps it balanced. You know, moderation and balance are the key to life. All right, so try this. Hands down, I think you'll like it. All right, so when I come back, we're gonna talk about some salsa and how to can it. Like I said, I've already got it put together because that's like a 4-hour process, and I didn't really think you wanted to see that. But I gotta go do my morning chores now that I've got breakfast made. I'll have breakfast with Sarah, get her off to school. I gotta run to the store real quick, pick up a couple things for Abby's breakfast or Abby's lunch, and then we'll start doing salsa. All right, I'll see you here in one moment. Okay, guys, so got the morning chores done. Dogs fed, plants are watered. Both kids are off to school. Went to the store, picked up a couple things, and now we're gonna do a can up some salsa. Like I said earlier, I've already got the salsa made because it really is. I mean, depending on how much you're making, you know, we start out with 12 jars, but like last year, I made probably close to 100 jars of salsa between people asking for it, us giving it to people, and then just we eat a lot of this salsa. It's pretty good salsa, in my opinion. Hopefully you'll try it and you'll know. So I doubled the recipe. This recipe makes 6 pint jars, which if that's a pint jar, and but I always double recipes when I make them, when I make the salsa, because it never lasts. But I'm going to give you when I give you this recipe, it's going to be for 6 jars. Now, this is not a USDA approved recipe. This is not, you know, ball canning. This recipe was given to us from Chris's mom, who got it from, this is like a 3rd generation recipe, but it works. And I use it because, I mean, I know the rules of canning, and this has got a really good balance for canning. And the recipe that's in, my mother-in-law had written a cookbook a while back, and the recipe that's in it, it even gives you the times and all that stuff for water bathing. We're going to water bath this. You can pressure can it. We did it one time last year to see how it runs, and I personally felt it made the salsa a little mushy. Because I made the last batch for last year a chunkier salsa, and I think it changed the texture too much. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've done it enough water bath canning, and that it works. So let's go through the recipe real quick because it's got a few parts. There are a few pieces to this salsa. One other thing. This salsa you can make fresh, so and serve it fresh. If it is a kind of a 2-day process, you make it one day, let it sit in the fridge overnight, and serve it the next day. If you're going to go that route, it would be good for a party. If you throw big parties. But anyhow, here's how it runs. All right, to do 6 pints of this salsa, you're going to do 8 chopped up. All your vegetables are diced already. I use Roma tomatoes. They're meaty. They're good for salsa. You can use juicer tomatoes, but I don't recommend it. So 8 cups of chopped up Roma tomatoes, 2.5 cups of chopped up onion, 1.5 cups of chopped up bell pepper, any color of your choice, green, red, yellow, orange, whatever suits your need. Purple, anything make it purple. 1 cup of chopped jalapenos. You can also substitute that 1 cup of jalapenos with a banana pepper, or this particular batch has hatch chilies and jalapenos in it. But a pepper of your choice, 6 cloves of minced garlic. And then you need a 1/3 of a cup of fresh cilantro, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of pepper, and 1/8 of a cup of canning salt. We use kosher salt, but if you can find canning salt, you can use it. But kosher salt will work just as well as far as the salt goes in canning. You will need a 1/3 of a cup of sugar, a 1/3 of a cup of vinegar, a small can of tomato sauce, a 15-ounce can, which these are 16-ounce jars. So the small cans, not the big cans. You will also need a 12 ounces of tomato paste, which is 2 of the small cans of tomato paste or 1 of the big cans. You will also need 2 tablespoons of lime juice, or you can use 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, but not fresh. Use the bottled stuff. That way, because it's there to help bring the acidity level up to where it needs. So you don't want to skip the lime juice or the lemon juice. You want to bring that up. That way your acidity is good. I suppose you could try this with a citric acid, like we did with the Rotel. But offhand, I don't know what the ratio is offhand. Plus, I think it would take away from the taste. So all we have to do is chop up all our vegetables. So like yesterday, I chopped up 16 cups of tomatoes, 5 cups of onion, 2 cups of jalapenos, and I minced up 12 cloves of garlic. And I did 2/3 a cup of chopped up fresh cilantro. And I'll bring it down so you can see what we got. I'll bring the jar to you, that way you can see it. That there. And here is the end result of that. Okay, so what I did was the next step, after you get all that chopped up, get all your spices in there, and you're ready to go, you're going to put it in your fridge. Okay, you're going to leave it in your fridge overnight. And just let it sit there. I'm going to say at least 8 to 10 hours. Or overnight. That gives everything a chance to mingle and get to know each other, so to speak, because you want those flavors to pull together. Now, if you're going to make any spice adjustments, because you don't want to, as far as the vegetables, the fresh vegetables go, you don't want to deviate from that. But as far as the dry stuff goes, the cumin, the salt, the pepper, things of that nature, now would be the time to do it, to check it before the next step. So we'll go ahead and try it. And it's spot on for our taste. As far as the tomatoes go, if you want to peel the skins, absolutely, but we don't. Sorry, mouthful. I dice mine up small enough that the skins don't really affect it. And they don't hurt anything. Make sure you wash your vegetables though before you chop them up and put them in the pot. So the next step, after we get it all chopped up, get the salsa made. And that's why I said, right now at this point, I could serve this if I wanted to. Just a fresh salsa, a good fresh salsa. But we're going to can it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner on. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Okay? Once it gets to a boil, we're going to turn it down to a simmer, and we're going to let it simmer for 10 minutes. And then after that 10 minutes is up, we can start canning. All right? So let me, when that comes back and we're ready to can, I'll be back. Okay, so we brought our salsa up to a boil, and we let it slow boil / simmer for about 10 minutes. One thing I don't think I ever mentioned, but I should, is when you're trying to bring something to a boil, water, salsa in this case, whatever, you should always have your lid on your pot. It does two things. Like in this case with the salsa, it keeps everything in the pot, because as it boils, it's releasing steam, water, moisture, whatever. In this case, probably some tomato juice bits. But we want to keep that in the pot so it doesn't change things. It doesn't thicken up. When you're boiling water for noodles, it keeps the right level in there, because depending on the noodle, depends on how much water you have in there to bring it to a boil. But I wanted to share that. Okay, so let me get you down here where we can walk through the canning process. Now, as you can see right there, I've got my canner on. I've actually got two of them on. There's one outside also on the porch. And like I said, we're going to water bath these. So let's look at the process. Now, according to Ball, with their jars and lids, which that's what we're using, you don't have to warm these in your oven or put them in the bath. You just have to wash them in hot soapy water if they're new, or at least rinse them off if they're not new, and wash their lids. You no longer have to heat the lids up. There was a time way back when we needed to do that. So I've got my jar sitting in hot water, just straight hot water. Reason for that is you don't want to put a hot product, the salsa, into a cold jar. You can run the risk of cracking it. Now, I've never cracked a jar, but I've never actually not warmed my jars up first. So that being said, this way the salsa is hot, the jars are hot, the water on the stove has been warming. It's not up to a full rolling boil yet, because we may have to add water to it depending on the amount I have to put the jars in. But we'll talk about that once we do this part. So all we gotta do is we'll pull a couple jars here out of the really hot water. Tools you will need a funnel, more than likely, especially if you're not using wide mouth jars. But you will need a funnel. You will need an apparatus of some sort, a measuring cup or a spoon or a ladle to get the salsa out with. You will need just a little thing of vinegar, about 2-3 tablespoons worth, a paper towel, and a measuring device of some sort to make sure you got a 1/2 inch of headspace on these. I'm just using a toothpick with a mark on it. Toothpick with a mark. I use my measuring tape to measure that, and I know it's a 1/2 inch. They do make plastic measuring tools. They're nice. We had one for a while, and then years ago, the kids got a hold of it, and haven't seen it since. But those are the basic things you'll need besides the jar, the lids, and the rings. Give this a good stir. As you might be able to see, well, no, you can't see it. There's like a ton of steam coming off of this. It is really hot. So it's important you warm the jars up a little first. All right, so we're just going to take our salsa, scoop it out, put it in the jar. And like I said, we're going to take this up so it has a 1/2 inch of headspace. Let me move you up just a little bit higher so you can kind of see what's going on there. There we go. And I was thinking when I was talking about how you could use this salsa fresh, you obviously don't want to make 6 pints of fresh salsa to try to eat. This will be good for a week or two in the fridge at least, because of its acidity level. It should hold for a few days. But if you wanted to half it, half the recipe for, like you're watching football on Saturday or Sunday, or both. So you can have it with chips. Be a great way to go. So I got my jar filled up. I'm going to check my headspace. I'll take my measurement I'll put my line on the top of the jar, and that's exactly a 1/2 inch. After time, you will get to know where the 1/2 inch, the 1/4 inch, and the 1 inch mark is. I can show you real quick. I'll show you on this jar that's not blazing hot. This bottom ring right here is the 1 inch mark on every jar, every ball jar out there. 1 inch mark. And then halfway up from that's the 1/2 inch, and then 3/4 of the way up from that's the 1/4 inch. Most things that aren't protein based, like when we can chicken or hamburger or pork, chicken, beef, or pork, most of that goes to the 1 inch headspace. Most vegetables are 1/2 inch. Most fruits and jams and jellies are 1/4 inch. But a lot of almost every direction will show you. When you look at your ingredients list and your directions for what you're canning, it'll show you that. So we got it up to a 1/2 inch. We're going to take our towel, dip it in the vinegar, and wipe the rim. A clean rim is important. Just the slightest little thing, and even something you can't see, can cause your jar not to seal, and you don't want that. You want it to seal good. All right, then we're going to place our lid on it, put our ring on, and you want it finger tight, okay? So finger tight is simply use your fingers and tighten it, not your palm. Don't death grip it and tighten it down. It has to breathe a little bit. That's what gets the air out and causes the vacuum, so it's sealed. After that, well, here, we'll move on. I'll do it one more time, and then we'll talk about what to do next. All right, so we're going to jar, funnel, ladle our salsa in. Up to a 1/2 inch of headspace. Hair more in there. We'll check it, make sure we're really at a 1/2 inch. And we are really at a 1/2 inch, probably a hair over a 1/2 inch. So what do you do if you're over? Well, you can just take a spoon and take some of it out, just like that. But the headspace is important. You want to try to be as accurate as possible with that, or you can have what's called siphoning, which is basically where your product comes out in between the lid and the glass, and it can contaminate your water. You can lose all your product. Lots of bad things can happen. Oh, let me get my lid off of my container here real quick. All right. Okay, so we got our 1/2 inch of headspace. We're good. Grab our paper towel, put some vinegar on it, wipe your rim real good. Like I said, that's important. These steps are important right here. No different than when you're looking at recipes to can or process. You want to follow the recipes, and do your research. Make sure you understand the rules of canning before you start varying anything from a tested recipe. Put your lid on and tighten it up. And then the next step after this is to simply place it in your water bath, okay? And you want to be careful doing that because your water bath is warm. It'll bite you a little if the water gets you. So let me go ahead and finish getting these jars filled, and we'll talk about what's next. All right, so we got all our stuff jarred up, lids on, finger tight, not hand palm tight, not crush it with all your might tight. And now we are just simply, we've got them in the pot, and we got the lids on them because that's what we want. I actually got, like I said, 2 going. I got 1 here, and then I got 1 outside on the porch. Unfortunately, my canners won't hold 12 pints, even if I was able to stack them. It'll hold a double stack, but not for water bath canning. Unfortunately, they're just not tall enough to get that 1.5 inches of water you need over the top. So we placed our jars in the canners. We ensured that we had 1.5 inches of water above those lids. Okay, and that's important because you want to be able to surround that in a blanket of bubbling water, all right, boiling water. That way it gets the temperature on all sides. You know, if you only put it up halfway, you're only guaranteed to get half the temperature in there, and that doesn't work well. It's not like pressure canning where we're enclosing it and sealing it and putting it under pressure and there's heat everywhere. So we got that in there. So what's next step? We're going to wait until these come up to a boil. Once they come up to a good rolling boil, we'll set our timer. We're going to have to set the timer for 15 minutes. We're going to let these boil water bath for 15 minutes. When the timer goes off, turn the timer off, turn the stovetop and the gas burner off outside, and we will let them rest for 5 minutes inside the canner. That 5 minutes allows everything to settle down. And then after that, we will talk about what to do final. All right? I'll see you here in a moment. All right, we're back. Did you miss me? I missed you. It was amazing. Yeah, but all the same. So we got our stuff water bathed. All right. We placed our cans in the jars with lids into the water bath. Covered it with the lid. Boiled 15 minutes. Let it rest for 5 with the lid off. I didn't forget to mention that. After you turn the timer off, turn the burner off, take the lid off and just let it sit for 5 minutes. Now be careful when you take the lid off. We're going to pretend this is the lid here and you're facing your stove. When you take that lid off, take it off away from you. All right? That way all the steam and stuff goes away from you. It's like a shield. You know, if you take it off this way, it's not shielding you from anything. You're going to have a face full of steam and it's going to burn your face off. That's just plain and simple. It's going to hurt at any rate. You're going to be like, oh my God, that hurts. All right, so let's look at what we made real quick. Let me grab a towel to support the bottom and my tongs. And here is our salsa. Yeah, looking mighty fine if I do say so myself. Like I said, where I tasted it earlier before we even started heating it up, that's some good salsa. I'm not going to lie. Hate to brag. Well, actually, I love to brag because I don't get to do it very often. But let's talk about what's next and something else. I want to talk about these tongs for a second. I'm going to show you my old set of tongs, and this is you should never. Well, Abby's got a hold of these and helped it along. But do you see the difference? Nice rubber coating on the green ones, no rubber coating on this one. Nice cushiony handles on the top of this one, nothing on the top of this one. If your canning tongs look like this, throw them away and go get a new pair. All right? These are so important. If that jar slips and falls and breaks, you're going to splatter, hot, boiling, whatever it is you're canning all over you. So, safety note. Even if you got to replace them every year or two, replace them. All right, so that being said, what do we do next? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is absolutely nothing. We got them sitting out on a towel, about 2 inches of space in between them. All right, all the way around. You want that air to circulate around them. You don't want them touching or nothing like that. But we're going to do nothing for the next 12 to 24 hours. We're just going to leave them sit there and let them cool off naturally. You'll start hearing some pinging or some popping, and that's the lid sealing. That's a great sign. All right, after 12 to 24 hours, we're going to, this isn't the best example, but it will work. We'll pretend that the dried allspice berries are salsa. So it's at 12 to 24 hours. The lid is sealed. All right, this little, can you hear that? That your jar doesn't do that. All right, it's sealed. It's tight. The dimple is down. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take the lid off, or the rim off the lid, and we're going to grab it by the lid and we're going to hold it. Now, if your jar is sealed properly, that lid will hold. I mean, hell, that lid's, whoa, see? If it does that, that was a good example. If it does that, you don't have a good seal. Put it in your fridge. Oh, there goes the pop. But if it doesn't do that and it holds, you've got a good seal. That was kind of funny. I guess this turned out to be a good example. After we have the lid or the rim off, we ensure we have a good seal. On the top of it, you're going to write what it is, like this says allspice, and put the date that you canned it. All right? That way you know. Now, we've had this salsa last up to a year. Not on purpose, but there was a hidden jar we found that was about a year old, and it was still just fine. There was nothing wrong with it. So I know, at least in our case, it was good for a year. Storage-wise, just like in the last video, we don't store like this. We don't store like this. You know, you can probably have them touching like that. That would be good. But best practice is like two friends sitting at a movie. You know, just enough apart to keep them out of trouble. And then temperature-wise, don't store them in your garage if possible, unless your garage is somewhat temperature controlled. You don't want these to get really cold. You don't want them to get really hot. 65 to 70 is ideal, and don't put them in the sunlight. So you want a fairly dim area, you know, away from windows. 65 to 70 degrees is ideal. You know, if you run your air conditioner, you know, and you have it set at 72, 73, it'll be fine. But that's optimal conditions for these. All our jars are sitting down in the basement, which stays 65 to 70 degrees all year long. The only time it gets light is when the fish tank lights come on, or we turn a light on. And they don't see any of the fish tank light. They're in a separate part. So, that's ideal. All right. I'm going to let these cool, and then tomorrow morning I'll write some dates and what it is on it, and put them up for later use. I really hope you try the apple pie biscuits. Those are just, they're sinful. I mean, just hands down sinful. I really hope you try this recipe for the salsa also. It's a really good salsa, and I don't say that lightly. But I've never had a complaint about it, and I've had dozens of people try it. That being said, let me know. Let me know if you try either of them, what you think of it. Tell me, hey, man, that is some good apple pie biscuits. Those are some great salsa recipes, you know, whatever. Or if you just want to leave a comment, remember with comments, we keep them friendly. Our community is all ages, and we want to be respectful towards each other. So, let me know either way. I love you guys. I love you very, very much. Tell somebody else you love them and love them very, very much. It's going to make their day a whole lot better. Make you feel better on the inside, I guarantee it. I know it does me. So, until next week, when I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, and I have no idea what we're going to cook or bake, but we'll figure it out, and I'll let you know on Tuesday. All right, talk to you later. Love you. Bye.